Welcome back to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and as we continue our study on the stages of childhood development, today we will focus our attention on the critical stages of what some may call adulthood between 35 and 60, and then the years following, which are those retirement years that most adults are supposed to exemplify an entire life of wisdom. On yesterday we talked about fidelity, and we talked about that meaning the faithfulness to the relationship. Also we talked about intimacy and the genuine love and the genuine intimate caring and the unconditional regard toward each person in the relationship. But today, as we look at more specifically that middle adulthood, ages 35 to about 50 or so, it's called the generative days because it indicates movement that has energy, but it should be a proper movement of energy in the direction of what is wholesome and what is productive and what is right, with a high degree of stability. This is also considered the age of care, and care for self, and also the care ability, or the ability to provide care for others, as indicative by I'm not only concerned about my welfare, and I'm not only at a place in life where I can take care of my own personal needs, but I'm also now at an age to where I can, in a healthy, wholesome way, look at caring for a family, caring for my children, caring about my neighborhood, and being a viable part of society. Care is readily shown toward the social settings, the community, because care is really the art of giving into rather than the expectancy of receiving. The dynamics of care is really going to be one of, because I am now at an age of, for the most part by the age of 35, most academic pursuits are settling down. College years are over, master's work is terminating, or a person is really kind of finishing up even doctoral work or medical school or law school. And their earning power is more stable. So their concern is, how do I give back? How do I give back professionally? How do I give back financially? How do I give back with my skills in terms of being an encouragement to others? And how do I also give back spiritually? How do I now really support the Lord and His work? If care fails to move outward from inside the person during these middle 35 to 50-year-old years, the middle-aged individual is likely to be a self-absorbed person. They are into themselves. They are into their careers. They are into their professions. But remember on yesterday when we talked about the ability to show fidelity in love? There is no emotional connection between them and the world that is blessing them. The self-absorbed person will struggle with a sense of not being productive, and they will become stuck. Now, their definition of stuck and not being productive will always be, I've got to earn more, I've got to get more, I've got to prove myself more, I've got to accomplish more. And they are stuck in the self-absorption of becoming more and more of what they think they ought to become. And they never take time during that generative time to be a person of giving, a person of sharing, because they are now in self-absorption. Let's talk about the last stage of development, and that's integrity versus despair. Integrity is the integrity of mind, and it should be the completion years from about mid-50s, early 60s to the end of life. This stage of development is also known as the period, or should be known as the period of wisdom. Physical productivity begins to slow down, but the years of learning, knowledge obtained, experience, financial wealth, accomplishments should be given to the inner peace of mind, and it should be given to the quietness of the inner spirit of the person. It must reflect this integrity of mind. It must also reflect family, career, children, religion. In other words, if there's going to be an integrity of mind or quietness of mind, in order for that to take place, as a person reaching 50s, mid-50s, 60s, 70s into death, if that person is not happy with the results of family, if they're not happy with the results of how their children turned out, if they're not happy with, I've been married to this person X number of years and it's been miserable the whole time, and they live in a world of what ifs. What if I had done this? I wish I had not done this. Then that person, instead of living in the twilight years of integrity and enjoying life, they are going to end up with despair. And despair is a reflection with remorse. It's a reflection with guilt. It's a reflection with lack of fulfillment. One will become bitter, show despair, which leads down a path to depression, hopelessness, mistrust, and anger, and the list goes on and on. So easily, when a person is mid-50s into the twilight years of life, you can determine very quickly if they are in integrity or despair. How happy are they? How much joy do they really get from being around people and sharing life and being a blessing to others? Well, that's going to be driven by the period before that, in terms of how they operated between 35 and 50. How giving and how sharing were they then? In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verses 1 through 3, the Ecclesiastes writer says, "Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh." In other words, it's during that developmental stage of young adulthood. It's during that developmental stage of when we're middle-aged, 35 through 50, when we're at our most productive, before our bodies start showing aging. We can't run. We can't go out and play basketball. We can't jog the way we used to. We can't just sit around and play baseball or sandlot ball or softball. But during this critical stage, Solomon says, remember thy Creator when thou art young in the developmental process. Remember the Creator when you're young in terms of what you do with family, how you really respect friends and you cherish intimacy. Because if that is not developed young in life, then it's going to lead to a life of I wish I had in that last stage of life. He says when the years draw nigh. If a person is 65, 70 years old, then they understand the years are winding down. When they shall say, look, I've lived life. Well, the question is not whether or not a person has lived life, but the greater question is, how have they lived life? While the sun or the light of the moon or the stars be not darkened. In other words, while there's still hope, enjoy and restore and rebuild relationships. I'll see you back in class again tomorrow. Don't be late and don't skip class.